This is the AnkerWork application on desktop for Windows for the Anker PowerConf C200. And yes, you can see me reading off the box there, so I actually remember what I'm doing. The webcam itself is situated further back than I normally would for it, but it's attached to my day job workstation at home, and I'm using the audio from the webcam itself to give you an idea of what it could be like at this range. If you want better audio, which I'm not going to clean up this segment like I normally do, you're going to need something like these over here. I have two different Yeti mics that I've used in the past for my tutorial style videos. Anytime you see me more recently do a screen capture, I'm using this guy right here. I'll have links to the dedicated review videos for them if you're interested. The first thing I'm going to do is take us off the device settings page, because right now it's in its default state. Nothing has been changed. This is what it will film at right out of the box. And if you don't install this software, like I can't on my work computer, this is how things are going to appear. But if I come over to my image settings, I'm going to turn on this one right here, which is optimizing brightness. And you could see it kind of mutes things a little more. It doesn't blow them out as much. One of the good and bad things about this particular webcam is its low light capacity, but then things look washed out if you don't start playing with your features here. We are under our video settings. By default, you're going to have a 2K resolution for this, and that's why it's sharper than most other webcams that people will be using for your web conferences. I know I have the sharpest looking camera in all of my Zoom meetings now, but we can downgrade this to 1080p. Here we go. It's trying to autofocus on me. Drop it down to 720. We'll get that to autofocus one more time. If you still want to be considered HD, but not necessarily use up a whole lot of bandwidth, and then 360p, you're going to, so get that to focus, really notice that it starts to get blocky and pixelated. Honestly, unless you're using old school dial-up, I don't see why you would actually go down that far. We're just going to get that to focus. Again, I am further away than you normally would be from a web camera, but here we have our different angle frames that we can do for this. This is the 95 degree. This is going to give you the full view of what this camera can do. But if I wanted to cut out some of that mess, I can limit this to 78 degrees. Notice it also pushes it so I look closer to the camera itself. Now, this is not using optical zoom. It's using digital zoom. So when I bring it into 65 degrees and it starts cutting off my head, you're also going to notice pixelation around the stuff in the background here looks a little more blurry than it did at the 78 degree or even at the 95 degree. That's because it's cutting and using compression algorithms to zoom in. It's useful if you have to show something right up close to the camera, but if you're trying for video quality over closeness, I would stick to either the 95 or the 78 degree. And then right here, we have our anti-flicker. If I turn on anti-flicker, we can choose between the 50 hertz and the 60 hertz. If you have a light source and you're in another country, they all operate at different hertz rates, so you might get a little flickering. If I turn on my studio light back there, maybe change it over to 50 hertz, 60 hertz. All right, don't have to worry about hertz rates so much where I am, but if you needed to, that's where you could change it. Now, if we come over to our image, yes, I turned off the crazy brightness from before, but if I turn that back on, give it a chance to focus, you can see the different looks between the two. I can also have some level of manual control. So if I wanted to step down the brightness, and notice that it will not show you the change until you remove your finger from the cursor. So there is some level of customization that you could do here to try and fix the way that your image looks. However, it's not, I'm looking a little red there. It's not going to be as customizable as using some other third-party software. And if you really screw up and don't remember, you could simply select the reset button and it'll put everything back to where it was. I showed you what the optimized brightness does. It lowers this super washed out look that I have going because it's looking for as much light as it can get, which is really good in low light situations, but not so much in this situation. And here we have auto white balancing. I can turn that off and then select anywhere between 2300 Kelvin up to 6500 Kelvin. So depending on the look that I want to go for, I can really kind of yellow this out, or I can really tint it blue. And again, reset or turn it off if you don't remember. So we'll leave that on auto. Autofocus, as you saw me fighting with the camera occasionally, because again, I'm farther back than I should be from this type of camera, I can turn off autofocus and then select where I'd like the focal point to be. And then again, this is going to be you dialing it in depending on what you're doing. So right here is about the distance from where I am to the camera. I could scooch that all the way up and have to have something really close. Honestly, just keep the autofocus on, especially if you move around a lot like I do and gesture with my hands. It's a good option to have. Flip horizontal. Well, you saw me a couple times reaching over this way because I thought this light was over my shoulder because things are reversed. But if I flip horizontally, well, now I know, even though it's showing a mirrored image, as you can see from my shirt, from what it says, I now know this is over my left-hand shoulder and this is over on the right-hand side. Could help your brain kind of comprehend where things are if you're looking at the screen like I am. Last but not least is our pickup mode. You have 360-degree stereo microphones, or you have the 90-degree stereo microphone. The 90-degree is going to have a cone kind of pointed right in front of it, allowing you to kind of cut down some of the background noise. It's not going to cut down right in front of the webcam, which you'll hear a little later, but it will cut down a little bit on the surrounding noise coming from off camera. Now, it's both good and bad because it does kind of tones it down, but I'll show you that a little later in the testing. That has been all the settings that we can change.